You close the door. You hear nothing. And for the next 8 hours, somewhere in the back of your mind, there's this quiet, constant wait. Is he okay? Is he lonely? Is he just sitting by that door waiting for you to come back? Wondering where you went? Wondering if you're ever coming back at all? You've probably never said it out loud, but you've felt it. Every single workday, without exception. What if I told you that science finally answered that question, and that almost everything you've been telling yourself is completely wrong? Stay with me, because what researchers discovered about what your dog actually experiences while you're gone will change the way you feel every single morning when you close that door. Let me ask you something honest. Have you ever eaten lunch at your desk and suddenly thought, I wonder what he's doing right now? Have you ever rushed out the door without saying a proper goodbye and then spent the entire commute feeling terrible about it? Have you ever scrolled past a video of a dog waiting alone at home and felt a wave of guilt so strong it ruined the next hour of your day? If any of that sounds familiar, you are not a bad owner. You are actually one of the best kinds of owners there is. Because the guilt you carry about your dog, that guilt is love. Real love. The kind of love that means you see him as more than a pet, more than a convenience, more than something that lives in your house. You see him as someone whose emotional life matters, someone who deserves more than just food and a roof. And your dog, at a biological, neurological, deeply instinctive level, already knows that about you. But let's stop guessing. Let's stop sitting with worst-case scenarios and quiet anxiety. Because researchers have spent years and millions of dollars studying exactly what goes on inside your dog's mind during the hours you're away. And the truth is, nothing like what most owners fear. The first thing you need to understand is how your dog actually experiences time, because it's nothing like how you experience it. We project our own relationship with time onto our dogs without even realizing it. We think, 8 hours is such a long time. That must feel like forever to him. But that's simply not how the canine brain works. A landmark study from Stockholm University measured cortisol levels, the primary stress hormone, in dogs left alone for different amounts of time. 30 minutes, 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. Here's what they found. Dogs left alone for 2 hours showed a mild, temporary increase in stress. But dogs left alone for 4, 6, or 8 hours? Their cortisol levels were nearly identical to the 2-hour group. Let that actually sink in. Your dog does not experience your workday the way you do. He doesn't spiral into anxiety at hour 3. He doesn't watch the light change through the window and calculate how many hours have passed. He doesn't lie there building up resentment while you sit in meetings and answer emails. His brain doesn't work that way. What your dog has instead of a clock is something far more powerful: certainty. A deep, unshakable certainty that is literally wired into his nervous system. You always come back. Every single time you have ever walked out that door in his entire life, you came back. And his brain has recorded every single one of those moments. Not as data, not as statistics, but as trust. The most complete, unconditional trust one living being can place in another. He's not suffering through 8 hours. He's resting inside the most solid emotional foundation he has ever known. While you're sitting at your desk worrying about him, something else is happening at home. Something most owners never think about. Your dog is using the most powerful sense he has, his nose, to stay connected to you. Dogs have up to 300 million olfactory receptors. Humans have about 6 million. What that gap means in practice is that your dog can perceive things that are completely invisible to you, including the emotional residue you leave behind in every room of that house. Research published in the journal Applied Animal Behavior Science found that dogs exposed to their owner's scent during alone time showed significantly lower stress behaviors. Less pacing, less whining, lower heart rates, calmer, slower breathing, simply because they could smell the person they love. Your pillow, the hoodie you left on the couch, the blanket you slept under last night, the spot on the sofa where you always sit. To you, those are just objects. To your dog, they are you. A version of you that stayed behind. A presence that exists in the air, in the fabric, in every corner of the home you share. And that presence tells him, she's still here. She hasn't disappeared. She's coming back. Everything is okay. You don't have to be physically present to comfort your dog. Without even knowing it, every single day, you already are. Now I want to talk about the moment you come home, because you've seen it 1,000 times and you probably still underestimate what it actually means. The key in the lock. The door opens, and suddenly there's this complete explosion of joy. The jumping, the spinning, the whimpering, the tail moving so fast it's practically a blur. You think, he's just excited. Dogs do this. But neuroscientists at Emory University wanted to know exactly what was happening in the brain during that moment. They trained dogs to lie completely still inside an MRI machine, which, if you know anything about dogs, is its own remarkable achievement, and then exposed them to 5 different scents: a stranger, a dog they'd never met, a familiar dog, themselves, and their owner. When the owner's scent was introduced, one specific region of the brain lit up above all others: the caudate nucleus, the reward center. The same area of the human brain that activates when we feel joy, anticipation, and deep emotional connection. Your dog's brain is chemically, neurologically designed to experience your presence as a reward. Not out of habit, not because you're the one holding the food bowl, but because of something that, at the level of brain chemistry, looks remarkably like love. That entire workday you spent carrying guilt, he spent it building up that exact moment. Every hour that passed was 1 hour closer to the best part of his day. And the best part of his day, every single day, without a single exception, is you walking through that door. Here's where I want to address something that a lot of owners feel, but rarely say out loud. Sometimes when you come home and your dog is wild with happiness, there's a part of you that wonders, is he this excited because he suffered all day? Is all this joy actually just relief that I came back? Am I watching the end of 8 hours of pain? The answer, backed by decades of animal cognition research, is no. Definitively, completely, no. Dogs do not have the neurological architecture for resentment. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the human brain responsible for complex long-term emotions like grudges, emotional accounting, and sustained grief, is dramatically underdeveloped in dogs compared to humans. Dogs live in a fundamentally present-tense emotional world. Your dog is not adding up the hours and deciding whether you deserve his love today. He is not keeping score. He is not waiting for an apology. The second you walk through that door, his entire emotional world resets to right now. And right now, you're here. Right now, everything is perfect. That is not ignorance. That is not a limitation. That is one of the most extraordinary emotional gifts any living being can offer another. The ability to love you completely, every single day, without conditions, without history, without scorekeeping. A clean slate offered freely, every single morning and every single evening for the rest of his life. The question is whether you're willing to offer one to yourself. There's one more thing, and this one matters. Researchers at the University of Budapest ran a series of experiments to understand just how well dogs can read human emotional states. Not tone of voice alone, but facial expressions, body posture, and what they called emotional energy. What they found was extraordinary. Dogs are one of the only non-human species on Earth that can match human emotional expressions to human vocal tones across species. This ability did not come from training. It evolved over thousands of years of dogs living alongside humans, learning to read us, adapting to us, becoming fluent in the language of human emotion. Your dog knows when you're stressed before you say a single word. He knows when you're sad, even when you're smiling. He knows when the love behind that rushed goodbye, the one where you barely stopped, barely looked at him, grabbed your keys, and walked out, was real. He doesn't judge your schedule. He doesn't compare himself to the dogs of people who work from home. He doesn't measure his worth by how many hours you spent with him today. He reads your heart. And your heart, every single morning when you close that door, says the same thing: I'll be back. I always come back. You are safe. You are loved. I'll be back. That is the message he carries with him all day. Not abandonment, not rejection, not confusion. That quiet, steady, unspoken promise that only the people who truly love him ever make. So here is what science is actually telling you. Your dog is not sitting by that door in anguish. He is resting in the certainty that you will return. He is surrounded by your scent, comforted by your presence, even when you are physically miles away. He is not counting hours. He is not building resentment. He is not comparing himself to anyone or measuring what he deserves. He is simply waiting, peacefully, faithfully, completely, for the person his brain is literally wired to love. And when that door opens, all those hours collapse into a single, perfect moment of joy. Every time, as if you'd never left at all. You are not failing your dog by working. You are building the life you share together. And he, in the only language he has, already knows that. He has always known that. The guilt was never his. It doesn't have to be yours either. Does your dog go absolutely crazy the moment you come home after a long day? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and I genuinely want to know what he does. And if you want to know the 7 secret signs your dog uses every single day to tell you he trusts you completely, signs that most owners walk right past without ever noticing, that video is right here. Don't miss it.